While ordinary citizens lived in fear of nuclear war, the elite of the Soviet Union were preparing shelters for themselves in which they could survive the end of the world. In this video, we will reveal how and for whom these underground cities were built, and why only a select few had access to them. Why were underground bunkers built? Imagine a nuclear war broke out tomorrow. What would you do? In the Soviet Union, such scenarios were not just fantasies, but a real threat. But here's the amazing thing. The government didn't build bunkers for everyone. These underground fortresses were built exclusively for those who led the country. There was no room for you, your neighbors, and millions of ordinary people. What is this? A concern for the future of the country or a game of survival for the chosen few? The biggest bunker in Moscow could hold up to 10,000 people. And these people, government, military, scientists, could survive the catastrophe in complete safety. What about the rest of us? While you might have been fighting for your life on the surface, they would have been living in the bunker like a luxurious fortress. These underground cities had supplies of food, water, and even entertainment. Movie theaters, recreation rooms, everything to keep people comfortable while the rest of the world collapsed. Why such luxury? Why build a movie theater when the entire country could perish on the surface? Think about how it looks. Thousands of ordinary people are left outside, vulnerable to chaos and danger. And down below, underground, the elite live in isolation and safety, with everything they need to live: food, water, and even ways to entertain themselves. These people could spend years underground, completely unconcerned about what's going on upstairs. Everything they needed, they had. But who were these underground cities built for? To save the nation, or so that a few people could maintain their power at any cost? Imagine, under the ground, under your feet, were hidden entire cities, created to save those who ruled your country. Ordinary people did not even suspect that the elite of the USSR was preparing such shelters for themselves, protected, fully equipped, and autonomous. The bunkers were real fortresses underground, where you could live for months, maybe even years, without going outside. Take, for example, Object 825 GTS in the Crimea. This is not just a bunker, but an underground base for submarines. Yes, you heard right. Entire warships could hide underground. While war could rage on the surface, submarines could stand quietly in these giant underground hangars. So colossal was this system, built only for those at the pinnacle of power. But that wasn't all. Inside, many of the bunkers were not only living quarters for high-ranking officials and military personnel, but also huge meeting rooms. Imagine the picture. On the surface, there was chaos, nuclear explosions, panic, and underground, the elite, calmly discussing the next steps in comfortable air-conditioned rooms. Comfortable conditions were created for them, all so that they could lead the country, while millions of citizens would struggle for survival outside. And here is the main question: why could they count on such safety and comfort, while ordinary people would be left alone with the disaster? These underground cities were only built for a select few, for those who controlled the country. It's unfair, but that's how the world of power works. Were these bunkers built so that the elite could maintain control, even in the most dire of situations? And what is most mysterious is that many of these bunkers are still classified. No one knows what their walls are hiding now or who is using them. Who was supposed to survive in those bunkers? Imagine a nuclear catastrophe. You are in a panic, looking for shelter, and at the same time the elite of the Soviet Union are sitting underground in secure bunkers. You think there's room for you? You're wrong. Ordinary people, even if they knew about them, couldn't get in. Access to these bunkers was only available to those who had a special top-secret pass. These were party leaders, generals, scientists, those who ran the country. Ordinary citizens would have been left to fend for themselves. Why was the survival of the elite more important than the lives of millions of ordinary people? How do we explain such injustice? If disaster strikes, who will take care of you if those who should be running the country are safe underground? And here is another shocking fact. In one of the bunkers, rooms specially equipped for the members of the Politburo are still preserved. There were not just bunks, but private bedrooms and offices for those who ran the country. While ordinary people would fight for their survival upstairs, the elite would quietly continue to live and work in their comfortable underground apartments, deciding how to run the rest of the country. This raises an important question. The bunkers were not built to save the nation, but to protect the government. They were not just shelters, but guarantees that the leaders of the USSR would be able to continue their rule even if everything on the surface collapsed. So how far can a government go to maintain its power? Now imagine, under your feet, perhaps right now, secret underground bunkers built back in the USSR are functioning. These giant structures were created to protect the elite in the event of a disaster. But what became of them after the collapse of the Soviet Union? Are they abandoned, or is there still something important and secret going on there that we have no idea about? What are they preparing to defend in our time? In the early 2000s, some of these secret bunkers were sold to private individuals. Think about what happened to these facilities when they fell into the hands of unknown people. Someone could have turned them into luxury private shelters where they could survive any disaster. But what if they are being used for a very different, even more mysterious purpose? No one knows exactly how these underground structures are being used now, and that leaves a huge room for speculation and apprehension. But most disturbing of all is the silence surrounding these facilities. There is almost no official information. Some might argue that the bunkers have long been abandoned, but how can we be sure if access to them is forbidden? Perhaps they still play the same role they did in Soviet times, hidden underground bases ready to receive the elite in the event of a global catastrophe. These secret underground fortresses, hidden from the eyes of millions, hold more than just concrete walls. But what are they really hiding? To this day, no one knows the full truth. In some bunkers, secret documents and old maps have been found that have not yet been declassified. What's on them? Why do these data still remain classified? Perhaps they point to other, even more secret sites that have never been mentioned. An even more startling theory, a network of underground railroads linking the largest bunkers to each other. Imagine a secret subway that no one but a select few knew about. These tunnels could have been used for emergency evacuation of the elite or for secret transportation in case of crisis. If this network really existed, why was it carefully concealed and continues to be concealed? And most importantly, what does this say about the possible modern uses of these tunnels? The legacy of these bunkers is not just a story about secret facilities. It is a story about how the authorities prepared for survival by leaving millions of people on the surface. These bunkers are a symbol of division. The chosen ones were given a chance to save themselves while the rest of the country lived in obscurity. Most likely, these facilities still hold something important and terrifying.